Okay, here we go. It's time for Bolivia Redux, the Looking Glass. So, as the loading screen says, it's time to return to Bolivia and finally see what everything does. So here we are, back at the Stone Dais.
I'm gonna need a clear head for this, lads. No distractions, please.
Good luck.
Anyone between me and that stone dies.
Stop! I don't want anything bad to happen, but it will if you come any closer.
Oh yes, that's the power of Excalibur. And now we get to murder everybody with Excalibur. Be very careful, because there is bizarre thing with how Excalibur moves. Well, how Lara moves when swinging Excalibur. She's not quite as graceful as she normally is. Now, I believe you have to kill about 15 people here. And once you've done that, it will be time for the final boss. Yes, this game does indeed have a final boss, and it is actually, well, it's somewhat cool. Particularly just because you get to swing Excalibur about. I'm sorry, but that's just awesome. Also, be sure to pick up as many health packs as possible before the fight is over, because you're going to need it.
I'm sorry, Amanda. Truly.
What are you doing? Stay away from there!
It's what I came for. You don't need that. We can both do this.
It only works once, and I'm going to be the one.
And so finally, after so long of seeing this thing killing our friends, it's time to get our own back. Because Excalibur can do damage to the damn thing. So what you're going to want to do is strafe a lot, make sure you're locked on, avoid its fireballs of death, and then after a while of hitting it, it will eventually fall down, at which point you've got to run down to it and stab Amanda. Because basically otherwise it'll keep it will keep replenishing its health. So you need to do this 3 times in order to defeat it. And then that will be the end of the game. This fight is reasonably epic, but considering how ever so slightly buggy fighting with Excalibur is, and the fact that if you don't run quick enough, it will kind of recover health and you have to do it all over again. Also, sometimes it combos you with its blowing fireballs of death. And with a final sweep. Well, I think I may have missed that last attack there. Either that or it's for... I don't know anymore. You see, that's what I mean about it comboing you. It's just really evil. And there we go. That horrible unknown entity is dead. Take that. Now let's find out what it does. It's what we've come to find out. Everything is in place. The last thing we have to do is touch the sword.
No, get back! What is it? Stay here. What? Who are you? Mother? It's Lara, your daughter. What about my daughter? Don't touch the sword! She meant no harm.
Take out the sword!
What? No! Mother, listen to me.
It'll explode unless you pull out the sword!
Oh God!
Idiot! You ruined everything!
All these years I blamed myself, and it was you! You killed her!
Killed her? She's not dead! She went where I was supposed to go, where you could have gone!
Makes sense right this second, or I swear I'll execute you where you stand!
I told you to pull out the sword. I told you!
Where is my mother?
Avalon! It's not a myth. Don't you get it? You'll never understand. I'm wasting my breath.
From this moment, your every breath is a gift from me.
Lara?
For years, my father believed Mother was alive. It was what kept him going. I pitied him for thinking that way. Alistair, go to the British Museum immediately. Ring me when you get there. Dress in layers. You'll be there a while.
Right, I'm off.
Zip, call Professor Eddington at the Cavendish Laboratory. Arrange a meeting.
Will do. What should I tell him?
Tell him my father was right about everything. And there may still be time to do something about it.
And there we go. That's the end of Tomb Raider Legend. Now, as you can see, it's sort of sequel baiting there quite a lot. I don't quite know why they decided to so heavily be just like, there's going to be a sequel. But they did, and I'm quite glad that, because it's a very nice arc. Of going from Tomb Raider Legend into Tomb Raider Underworld. It fits quite, well, very well. Now I will warn you, these credits are quite long. It's basically what you're watching for the rest of the part. I really wish they'd gone for better credits. Because, I don't know. I like it when there are credits that are just fun and make you want to watch them, / are still making you play in them. Bayonetta, Wonderful 101, etc, etc. But I will say that the music is reasonably nice throughout. So I guess right now is the best time for me to give my final thoughts on Tomb Raider Legend. I mean, we still have a part for all the extras that I can show you. There's not much, but there is some, and I will endeavour to show you them. So, considering I started with Tomb Raider Underworld and then kind of backtracked to Tomb Raider Legend, obviously, in terms of the gameplay itself, it's not as polished as Underworld, but it's still fun in its own right. One thing that I certainly prefer that this game does is that the artifacts are quite large, so you can see them. Something that kind of happens as you go through so Legend, Anniversary, Underworld, is that the artifacts get gradually harder and harder to spot. Because if I recall correctly, in Underworld, they're basically just these small, sparkly, diamond-esque things, which, especially in the first area of the game, are horrible to find. Whereas these are a lot nicer to locate, and I do prefer that. But, I mean, it plays great, apart from a few bugs. It looks pretty damn good, considering how old it is now. I mean, some of the kind of locations are just stunning. Obviously, can't quite say the same for Zip, Alistair and Winston's models, because those aren't great. But what can you do? So, there you have all your voice actors. I did list most of them. The only one that I don't think I did was the narrator. But I don't know when I ever heard the narrator speak. That really confuses me. But, oh well. So, yeah, I really do like Tomb Raider Legend. It's a lot of fun. It's short, yes. It's like 5-6-ish hours if you run through the game, getting all of the artifacts. Obviously, it does extend a bit more if you do all the time trials, and if you do it on a harder difficulty, because obviously I just did it on the normal difficulty. So you can do it harder, but I can't be bothered, really. There's not really much drive to doing it any more difficult, in my opinion. But it's still... considering Lara kind of went through a really rough patch, this was a great return to form for her. And it does sadden me that kind of over the course of the next kind of few games, after that she kind of vanished again. Because Lara's a great character. I mean, obviously there is the whole issue of, is she an empowered woman, or is she a woman designed by men meant to titillate, and so on and so forth. But whatever you say, Lara's badass, and even though she does suffer from the typical archaeological hero complex of being a mass murderer, she does it with class and style, and those actually kind of have emotions, which is very helpful. It's something that happens in this arc that I think, come the reboot, they kind of screwed up, in a way. In that, here Lara is... you can see the moments when she is affected by her emotions, but she manages to have a cool, collected head on her most of the time. Come the reboot, she's just generally overly emotional. I know that's obviously quite a harsh thing to say, considering your Lara in the reboot is trapped on an island, basically by herself, with a bunch of incompetent people surrounding her, with a bunch of lunatics being there, and she's got to find a way to get off. I would be dead very soon in that situation. But there's just none of the awesome badassery that Lara has, particularly in the first 3 Crystal Dynamics games. They just embody what Lara is about. She is very smart, she's very badass, and she can traverse tombs with absolute perfect style. Not many people can claim to have that, let's put it that way. And thankfully, these credits are nearly over. I remember when I was sitting through them when recording, I was like, oh, please end! Please! They just seem to keep going and 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 going, but I've had to sit through longer credits. Sonic Colors. But still, for some bizarre reason, the music just ends before the credits have even finished. I really dislike it when companies do things like this with the credits. It's like, come on! Just make it interesting, make me want to sit through them and watch. Either way, thank you all for watching the Tomb Raider Legend walkthrough. I'll see you next time.